You're listening to the SuitesFlow Podcast.
Ciao and welcome from Mario and Alessia to a new episode of the SuitesFlow Podcast.
In an industry worth $10 trillion, we are, believe it or not, still relying on a fax machine and maybe a spiral notebook to sign off on $500 million property.
That is quite the statement. And honestly, it's maybe the single greatest irony in modern business today.
Mm-hmm.
So inspired by the ideas explored in the SuitesFlow essays, today we're really going to unpack this massive, kind of strange chasm between construction's digital potential and, well, its stubborn dependence on paper and methods that feel, frankly, outdated.
Yeah, and that gap, it isn't just, inconvenient, it's structurally limiting. I mean, think about that $10 trillion figure.
It's huge.
It represents real homes, hospitals, massive infrastructure projects all over the world. And despite seeing huge investment, what was it, $20 billion into prop tech just last year?
Something like that, yeah.
Yet the day-to-day reality, boots on the ground on construction site, it often feels stuck firmly in the 1990s.
It's such a visual disconnect, isn't it? We read that anecdote from the SuitesFlow essays, the one about Mike. He's a project manager on this $200 million mixed-use development site.
Right. Gleaming towers, big city development.
Exactly. You've got drones buzzing overhead, mapping the site in 3D. The architect is sending holographic models back to the main office. Super high-tech stuff.
You'd think everything would be digital.
You would. But then, when a really critical change order comes up, something for the HVAC system, needed formal sign-off, what does Mike do?
Let me guess. Not the fancy software.
Nope. Out comes the thick physical clipboard, he scribbles down the notes, and then he faxed the form. Faxed it.
Oh, okay.
And his reasoning was just peak defensive pragmatism, He was apparently grumbling that email is, quote, too easy to lose. And that the cloud causes these costly outages that can stop work for days, which leads to massive penalties down the line.
So for him, the physical paper is like his shield, his protection.
Exactly, his fortress.
Yeah. And what's really crucial to get here is that the people on the ground, like Mike, they aren't necessarily Luddites, right? They're operating inside a system.
A system that kind of punishes experimentation.
Precisely. It favors tangible proof above all else. So they see that piece of paper as a fortress, like you said.
And that fortress mentality, it's there to protect them from the human cost and the financial cost of this systemic failure, isn't it?
Absolutely. Think about that other example, the Manhattan property manager. Overseeing 500 units?
Yeah.
Her entire day is spent chasing rent checks via certified mail, literally logging maintenance requests in a physical spiral notebook.
For 500 units, that's billions in real estate value being managed like as a small corner dry cleaner.
It sounds almost comical, but it's real. And that inefficiency, it translates directly into catastrophic financial waste.
The essays highlighted some stark numbers there.
Oh yeah, something like 30% of projects overrun their budgets. And maybe half, fully 50%, are delayed.
Wow.
And this isn't just, supply chain hiccups. It's deeper. It's structural failure, driven by miscommunication, by paper trails that become these epic sagas, lost documents, broken chains of custody.
Okay, so let's dig into that structure then. If the digital tools do exist, AI, blockchain, VR, all the buzzwords, why does the industry consistently choose caution? Why the fax machine over the cloud?
Fundamentally, I think it boils down to two things, liability and tangibility.
Okay.
Construction is just inherently chaotic. You're dealing with endless variables, weather delays, subcontractors vanishing overnight, regulations changing mid-project.
Right, total unpredictability.
Exactly. So when something goes wrong, say the plumbing fails and floods 3 floors, blame starts flying fast.
Yeah.
And in that moment, you need verifiable proof of intent, something you can actually show in court.
Okay, so a signed blueprint you can physically wave in a courtroom. That's tangible proof.
Precisely. Emails, by contrast, they feel like ghosts. They can be edited, people claim they never got them, they seem ephemeral. Phone calls, that's just hearsay. The whole documentation process in construction, it's almost designed from the ground up to assign blame when delays inevitably cascade. And paper, despite being slow and clunky,
it provides that clear, undeniable accountability, a clear chain of command.
It's seen as the safest path, even if it's not the fastest or most efficient.
That explains so much about why tech adoption struggles, hovering around, 20%, stuck in what the essays called pilot purgatory?
Exactly, pilot purgatory. And this is like a classic case of the innovator's dilemma, but inverted.
Okay, explain the inverted innovator's dilemma.
Well, think about software. If you launch a feature and it's buggy, okay, it's maybe embarrassing, but You push out a fix overnight, right?
Yeah, patch it and move on.
But in construction, a mistake on a, say, $50 million hospital build, that's not a buggy feature. That's a potentially catastrophic lawsuit. It could end a company.
Right. The stakes are completely different.
So the system punishes experimentation so severely that almost everyone defaults back to the safest, oldest method they know, paper, even if they know it guarantees inefficiency.
So, okay, let's say a new digital tool comes along. It promises to be 10 times more efficient. But if it introduces even a tiny perceived risk, like a documentation error that could maybe lead to a huge lawsuit.
The company rationally, or at least understandably, sticks with the clipboard.
Wow. The perceived risk just completely outweighs the potential benefit of speed.
It does.
Yeah.
And compounding this problem is where the investment money is actually going. You mentioned the VC funding.
Yeah, the $20 billion.
Right. But that venture capital often isn't funding the foundational fixes needed to overcome this core documentation barrier. Instead, they tend to chase the shiny objects.
Like smart locks or, I don't know, Uber for excavators or something.
Exactly, that kind of thing. They often ignore the necessary, maybe less glamorous drudgery of actually digitizing the core workflows like permitting or submittal logs, the really essential stuff.
So they're looking for disruptive fun, maybe, instead of the foundational utility that the industry actually needs.
You can put it that way. And look, if the tools aren't dead simple and totally verifiable, they fail what you might call the Mike test.
The project manager test.
Yeah. If Mike finds the app slower than just yelling across the hall, or if that Manhattan property manager's tenants complain the apps are too complicated to use, it's dead on arrival.
The tech needs to feel almost like a safer, better extension of the clipboard itself, not some alien thing.
Exactly. Which, brings us nicely to the opportunity here.
Yeah.
Because this technology gap, it isn't actually a dead end. It's really a massive vacuum just screaming for a solution.
Okay.
The chance here is to fundamentally shift the entire industry, move it from being reactive, always chasing leaks and lost documents, to being genuinely proactive.
Right. And this is where that critical shift comes in, the one the essays talk about, moving away from what they call static selling.
Where you're basically selling a dream based on a couple of beautiful renderings.
Towards continuous selling.
Yeah.
Selling that's anchored completely in information-based trust. Trust you can actually see.
Trust made visible.
Yeah.
Exactly. And this is really the core premise behind SuitesFlow. The concept is, at heart, quite simple, but it fundamentally changes the entire transaction.
How so?
You get absolute visual clarity and verifiable data for every single unit in a building. Doesn't matter if it's currently just a hole in the ground or if it's fully built out.
Wait, every single unit? Because usually the buying experience is, well, you see maybe one or two gorgeous showcase models, right?
Hero units.
Yeah, and you basically have to rely entirely on the salesperson's promise about what your specific unit, the one on the 14th floor facing east, is actually going to look like.
Right, you cross your fingers.
Yeah.
But SuitesFlow provides those unit-specific virtual tours for every unit.
Okay, so what does that mean practically? What do I see?
It means you see the real geometrically accurate floor plan. You see the actual finishes that are specified for that unit. And crucially, you see the authentic external view from that unit's windows or balcony.
The actual view.
The actual data-verified view. No more guessing games. No more hoping the view from your expensive balcony won't suddenly be blocked by a new parking garage they didn't mention.
Okay, that promise, the real external view, guaranteed by data that feels like it directly tackles that legacy fear, the fear of misrepresentation that kind of drives the need for the paper fortress in the first place.
It's designed to.
But delivering individual tours for hundreds, maybe even thousands of distinct units across a huge development, that sounds computationally like a nightmare. How can that possibly scale reliably? Especially when Mike the PM is already worried about cloud outages causing million-dollar delays.
Yeah, that's the critical point. The technology has to be engineered for absolute reliability first and foremost. The differentiator isn't just offering the tours, it's the scale and the underlying data engine that guarantees that reliability.
So it's not just a nice visual.
Not at all. SuitesFlow is, right now, the only company capable of delivering this kind of unit-specific experience across hundreds or thousands of units globally, 247. And it works precisely because the system is rooted in architectural truth, not just marketing promises.
It removes the friction of uncertainty because the data itself is absolute.
Exactly.
Okay, so beyond just seeing the specific unit itself, the SuitesFlow essays also mention some complementary features, things that build user confidence by sort of grounding the visual experience in real-world context.
That's right. First, there's the POI interactive map. POI just means points of interest.
Right.
And this is really essential for understanding the neighborhood context. Because when you buy a unit, you're not just buying the box, you're buying the whole environment around it.
Makes sense.
So this map lets you easily see, proximity to transit stops, parks, schools, restaurants, even how tall the neighboring buildings might be, or where future developments are planned nearby. It puts the unit into its complete environmental picture.
Gotcha. And the second thing was AI guidance. How does that work without just being sales fluff?
Good question. The key is that it only uses real, verified data, the architectural facts of the units, the location data, the view data. It doesn't rely on subjective descriptions.
Okay.
So it can instantly match a person's specific needs. Maybe they need 3 bedrooms, morning sun, and proximity to a certain school with the exact units that fit those factual criteria. It cuts through a lot of the usual back and forth and guesswork.
Right, so it provides confidence based on facts, not feelings.
Exactly. But delivering this level of verifiable transparency, especially at scale, obviously requires a serious engine underneath it all. Something proprietary that can handle these massive amounts of complex architectural data and remain absolutely reliable.
Okay, so the engine.
This is powered by our VIM engine volumetric information multiplier.
VIM, volumetric information multiplier. Sounds impressive, but let's anchor that back to the user experience. How does VIM actually overcome Mike's fear of digital ghosts and make data feel like that trustworthy paper fortress?
Okay, simply put, VIM is designed to collect all the disparate data sources, the architectural plans, CAD, BIM files, the geospatial mapping data, the visual information like material textures, and then it fuses all of that together.
Fuses it.
Yeah, it synthesizes it to create these reliable, data-anchored digital twins of every single unit. And because this resulting data is anchored, because it's verifiable and essentially permanent, it provides the same level of accountability and documentation security that Mike was looking for in his physical facts.
Ah, okay. So the digital twin itself becomes the verifiable record.
Precisely. So even when a skyscraper is literally just a hole in the ground, VIM makes the unbuilt visible and real. It mathematically ensures that the authentic external view a remote buyer sees in their virtual tour is geometrically the exact view they will actually get when they move in.
It's the ultimate antidote, then, to the paper fortress problem. It tackles liability and miscommunication head-on because the data itself becomes the indisputable proof.
That's the goal. That's the magic, if you will. The gap gets closed, not by forcing Mike to use some complicated app he doesn't trust, but by giving everyone involved tools that are so reliable, so simple, and so anchored in verifiable data that paper just did. It starts to become irrelevant.
The system shifts. It moves away from one designed purely to assign blame after things go wrong.
One designed proactively to build verifiable trust right from the beginning, mainly through clarity.
That future, it probably isn't going to arrive with some sudden revolution, is it? Like a big bang that just blows the paper fortress down overnight.
Probably not. It's more likely to be a slow, quiet refactor. A set of, dead simple tools that finally reward the pragmatism of the people on the ground, the superintendents, the property managers.
Yeah, tools that work with them, not against them.
Exactly. The real shift, I think, is moving away from systems that fundamentally penalize errors and caution, towards systems that actively build that verifiable trust, making the promised unbuilt future feel real, tangible, and immediate.
It really is the idea of technology guaranteeing something as specific as a view years before the structure even exists, that feels profoundly different.
It's about making the intangible tangible, using data to build trust.
A powerful thought to end on.
See you in the next episode.
You're listening to the SuitesFlow Podcast.